Welcome back to This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres, and instead of starting with the news, it was a relatively quiet week on Magic Online, I'm going to introduce a new segment for the show. Now, my sponsors at MTGO Traders have been kind enough to supply me with some of their sales data, and they're one of the biggest bot chains on Magic Online, so this is statistically significant information. We can draw conclusions from this. And haven't you always wanted to know which cards sell the most on Magic Online? Me too. And now we can. Now going forward, I hope to use this data to determine shifts in popularity and how that affects the evolution of a metagame. If a card sells a lot of copies in a week, for example, but the price doesn't go up, it might be time to buy. First, let's look at the most cards sold by quantity. Lightning Bolt tops that list, followed by Opt. Now, both of these cards see more play in Modern than Standard, where Lightning Bolt isn't even legal, which tells me that the community is focused more on Modern than on Standard right now. As you might expect, multi-format All-Stars dominate that list. Duress, Fatal Push, and Glacial Fortress round out that top 5. Of those cards, Glacial Fortress is the one that interests me the most. It's a rare, it's seeing more play in Standard, and its price chart hasn't really moved in the past couple of weeks. I'm definitely buying a set after seeing this data. Now going by value, Chandra Torch of Defiance and the Scarab God are the top 2 finishers. And the Scarab God actually sold more copies than Chandra, but because Chandra is more expensive, Chandra takes that top slot and Scarab God is number 2. Now beyond them, this top 10 list is littered with the expected Modern and Legacy cards. Force of Will, Liliana of the Veil, and Cavern of Souls round out this top 5. Now this speaks some to my thesis that Modern is everybody's top focus right now, but it's also true that by their nature, Eternal cards tend to be more expensive than Standard cards. Either way, both Chandra and the Scarab God are still seeing significant demand, and I wouldn't expect either to tank in the near future. Lastly, I can also tell you that Swamp was by far the most sold basic land of the week. I'm not sure how much this matters since most competitive players have a lot of basic lands already, but it speaks to the fact that Swamps are being played in 4 of the 5 top decks in Standard right now. Moving on to gaining ground, where in Standard, Hazoret the Fervent and Vraska Relic Seeker each saw modest gains of about a ticket apiece. I'd like to say that the Star City Games Invitational had something to do with this, but Chandra Torch of Defiance was actually featured in more of those top 8 decks, and it didn't see any increase in price. Looking at the price charts, it seems like both of these cards have simply bottomed out and begun to rise again. So if you were thinking of buying either Hazoret or Vraska over the holidays, I'd start to think about buying back in now. Moving on to Modern, where Mox Opal again gained the most ground this week, jumping 5 tickets from 64 up to 69. And this is largely a result of the fact that Lantern Control has established itself as a tier 1 deck in the format along with Affinity. That's 2 tier 1 decks, both featuring playsets of the incredibly scarce Mox Opal. And as a result, the price chart has been pointing upward since October and shows no signs of letting up. Moving on to our big losers, where in Standard, the overall format price ticked down a little bit again this week. Our big losers weren't all that big though. Heart of Kiran and Walking Ballista each lost about 2 tickets, with Walking Ballista down to about 9, Heart of Kiran down to 6.5. Now neither of these cards is seeing a lot of Standard play at the moment, but don't forget that Walking Ballista is a very good card in Modern, and it's approaching its historic low. It's at 9 right now. If it hits 7, I'm absolutely buying in for the long haul. Moving on to Modern, where the overall format had a pretty bullish week. But one card dropped almost 5 tickets, that's Eidolon of the Great Revel, which fell 5 tickets from 20 down to 15, losing about a quarter of its overall value. And I'm not really sure why. Burn even showed up in the top 8 of the Star City Games Modern Invitational, complete with a playset of 4 Eidolons, and the paper price is still relatively stable. So, if you know what's going on here, please leave a note in the comments, but otherwise, I just have to call this a pretty solid buy. Now this week's sneak isn't a single Magic card, it's all of the Commander 2017 mythics. I'm talking about cards like Edgar Markov, and Meriwether Light Duelist, and Ramos Dragon Engine. And unlike previous Commander releases on Magic Online, those new treasure chest changes have made these incredibly scarce. As a result, I think people undervalued these a little bit at the beginning, and they're all still on upward trajectories. I certainly wouldn't sell any copies I have in my collection right now, and if you like playing Commander on Magic Online, I would consider picking up whichever copies of these you think you're going to need, probably as soon as possible. Now, I finish off each week by taking a look at the MTGO Traders Hotlist. As always, these are a list of cards that are especially hot in the market right now, which means that MTGO Traders is paying a little bit extra for them. And you can find the list yourself at mtgotraders.com/hotlist or on Magic Online at Hotlistbot and Hotlistbot2. Now, since Modern is the hottest format at the moment, I wanted to run through some of the high-end Modern staples on the hot list. Mox Opal is of course at the top, kicking around that 63 ticket mark. Liliana of the Veil a close second at 59. You can get 33 tickets for your Engineered Explosives, 31 for your Scalding Tarn, 30 for Liliana of the Last Hope, and Ensnaring Bridge, Surgical Extraction, Noble Hierarch, and Cavern of Souls all in the 25 ticket range. That's all I got for you today. Don't forget to like the video and please do subscribe to the channel. MTGO Traders is continuing to add content, so please check it out, and I will see you again next Monday.